Hey guys, welcome to the Fantasy Reads. I just wanted to touch base on this Treylon Burks situation that's going on. We all know that De'Andre Hopkins got signed to the Tennessee Titans today. So I just wanted to kind of take you guys through from a bird's eye view down at the Tennessee Titans franchise in general, what they've been doing, and then start talking about Treylon and De'Andre and what we can expect from them and a few other Titans in this offense going forward. So first thing I want to just talk about is in 2022 last year, there was a point in the season where the Tennessee Titans were 7-3, and then they lost 7 games in a row to finish the season at 7-10. But this was a 7-3 team. They got there by beating up on teams like the Commanders and the Raiders and the Colts and things like that. But they were winning the games that they were supposed to win, and then they hit a slump. Even the New York Jets hit a massive slump last year to finish the season and miss the playoffs. So just wanted to kind of bring that to your guys' attention. Tim Kelly is going to be the offensive coordinator for this season. Tim Kelly was the passing game coordinator last season. Obviously going to have to expect more success this year with DeAndre Hopkins coming on board. One thing that's important to note about Tim Kelly, the new offensive coordinator, is he was the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans in 2019 through 2021, and it was in 2020 of that year that Deshaun Watson threw for 4,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. And he did it on 540 pass attempts, and 540 pass attempts in all 3 years that Tim Kelly was the offensive coordinator in Houston is essentially what they were doing. So I don't expect that to really change at all. Deshaun was able to complete 70% of his passes that year. As a runner, Deshaun Watson that year also put up 400 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. There were some times where Deshaun Watson put up 7 rushing touchdowns. It might surprise you to know that the Titans' current starting quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, however you feel about him, the best season in his career, he also threw exactly 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He would go on to be a first-team All-Pro selection that year and also be named Comeback Player of the Year. And also for the last 4 years of his career, Ryan Tannehill is averaging 6 rushing touchdowns per game. In the first 4 seasons of his career, he was averaging about per season, 6 rushing touchdowns per season. In the first 4 years of his career, he averaged about 1.2 rushing touchdowns per season. So I think when you see a quarterback doing that, Joe Burrows was able to do it last year as well, just stepping up his running production and running touchdown production as he's gone through the NFL. I think when that starts happening with quarterbacks, the game is starting to slow down for them. Now, I didn't lure you into a Treylon Burks video to talk about Ryan Tannehill. What I'm just trying to say is, we can't expect this offensive coordinator to do with Deshaun Watson, to do with Ryan Tannehill this year what he did with Deshaun Watson in 2020. I'm here to say that we can. Some of the weapons are a little bit different, so we'll have to take that into consideration. In that 2020 season, that Deshaun Watson absolutely wrecked it, and that was the best year of his career as well, in case you're wondering. Brandon Cooks got 120 targets, and Will Fuller got 75 targets. Now, Will Fuller was averaging 16.5 yards per catch, and I don't think Treylon or DeAndre are going to do that. But I think this 120 targets, Brandon Cooks the following year in the same offense saw 130 targets. I think it's reasonable to expect that if DeAndre goes in there and he's the alpha, that he's probably going to command about 120 to 130 targets, maybe as much as 150. Maybe that's going to move him up in your rankings a little bit. Maybe it's not because it's Ryan Tannehill throwing in the football and you just don't like Ryan Tannehill and you don't like the Tennessee Titans. That's okay. The second most receptions in that season was Will Fuller, targets, probably also second receptions. He got 75 targets. And Will Fuller did that in only 11 games. Not 11 games started, just 11 games played as a as a Houston Texan. He averaged 16.6 yards a catch and caught 8 touchdown passes, where Brandon Cooks only caught 6 touchdown passes and averaged about 14.2. So I really do think that Treylon's ceiling for targets this year is probably going to be at about 90 to 100 targets. So I have to relook at his ADP. I think on Underdog he's going at 68. I have to go relook at that and look at some of the other receivers around him. I'm sure you've already done this and seen if you still want to take him there. I've been taking him in drafts as my third or fourth wide receiver on my best ball teams, thinking that he was going to be an absolute steal, a potential league winner. No joke, yes, we're both talking about the Treylon Burks, who might end up with 130 targets. There was nobody else in the Titans offense that was going to take those targets from him. So I really thought his ceiling was 130. Now I think it's more like 90 to maybe 100, but at least 75. At least 75. 75 targets for Treylon this year, floor. I want to say his yards per catch is going to go up as well. Just reading from this real quick, Burks is running fast, having fun, and more confident than ever going into the 2023 season. After struggling with asthma during his rookie minicamp and OTAs last year, Burks spent some extra time in Nashville this offseason working with the Titans training staff on his breathing and conditioning. This is huge. You can't be an out-of-shape wide receiver in the NFL. And even as an out-of-shape wide receiver in the NFL last year, Treylon Burks still averaged 13 and a half yards per catch. You can look it up. You don't have to. I got it right here. And he just killed it, man. I love that for him. He caught 61% of his catches and averaged 13.5 yards per reception on about 54 targets. So it's one of those rookie seasons that will get completely overlooked. I think it's important, though, to note that he only played in 11 games last season. So 54 targets in 11 games, if I'm doing the math right, is 5 targets per game. When you go in and you look at his game logs from last year, there were several games where he had 6, 7, and 8 targets, I believe. And so this is a guy that when he was there, De'Andre wasn't there, taking targets. Trust me, at 540 pass attempts per season this year for Ryan Tannehill or Will Levis or whoever you think is going to play quarterback in Tennessee this year, there are going to be about 540 to 550 targets up for grabs, pun intended. And we're just going to go finish this video taking a look at Ryan Tannehill in all of his glory. There he is, 2020, Tennessee, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I believe he also had 6 or 7 rushing touchdowns that year. I'll scroll down so you know I'm not a liar. Rushing and receiving 2020, 7 rushing touchdowns for him that year, 7 rushing touchdowns in 2021 as well. It's a sneaky guy with some sneaky Deshaun Watson, some eerily similar stats to Deshaun Watson for your comparables. And just interesting to note, I'll make a different video on this former offensive coordinator, now turned head coach. Bonus points if you know who Ryan Tannehill's offensive coordinator was in Tennessee in 2020, who offensively coordinated him to the best season of his career with the 33 touchdowns. Give you a couple seconds to think about it. The answer is Arthur Smith, current head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and his quarterback this year is Desmond Ridder. We could do a little bit of a Desmond Ridder deep dive. If you guys are still here, you definitely want to check out a little Desmond Ridder as like maybe your QB3 in your best ball leagues. Desmond Ridder last year, 4 games, 4 starts, 115 attempts, 0 interceptions. How many rookies in the history of the NFL do you think have thrown 150 balls without an interception? Just their first year in the league, in their first 115 attempts. I bet the number is probably like 2 or 3. It's probably not a lot. And then the Atlanta Falcons, instead of rocking the Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks tandem, we all know that they got the Kyle Pitts and the Drake London. So thanks for tuning in, you guys. It's been fun kind of breaking this down. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what you can expect from Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins this year. Kind of take that information, do with it what you will, and figure out where you want to move Treylon. This is still some pretty new news, and I did start some new slow draft best ball leagues today. So by tomorrow afternoon, I'll be getting to picks 58, 64, where I would normally take Treylon. And there's actually now a different wide receiver that I'm going to start targeting. I'm happy with the amount of shares that I got in Treylon Burks so far in my teams, but there's another wide receiver in that sort of 66 hint, to 68 range that I'm going to be looking to kind of swap places with him, that I think has some pretty similar upside. And so I'll just start interchanging it a little bit. Now that I know that at pick 68 overall, Treylon Burks is not going to have a chance of getting me 130 targets, I'm going to start just fading it a little bit. I'm still happy with the stock that I got. I'm drafting him as my wide receiver 3 or 4 on these teams, so I don't need him to be a world beater. 8 touchdowns, 850 yards, and 60 catches is going to be just fine for him. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Let me know in the comments below what kind of videos and questions you have next, and we'll talk about it.